Hello and welcome to the 7th episode in this series. This time I'm going to build quite a complex lower third. It combines track motion animation with animated masks to deliver a very striking result. I'll be using the Bezier masking tool rather than pan crop masking to create the animated masks. This ensures that the tutorial is valid for both Vegas Pro and Movie Studio Platinum users. This is the finished lower third. The completed lower third can be introduced into your project as many times as you need. Each instance can then be customized to suit the scene they're describing. Vegas Pro users have the benefit of using nested timelines to achieve this. Movie Studio Platinum users don't have that luxury, so the method is different. I'll talk about these methods at the end of the tutorial. I'll be using Vegas Pro 18 to create the lower third, but the methodology is the same for Movie Studio Platinum. Please note that all frame values shown are with reference to the PAL TV system. That's 25 frames per second. Timings will be different for other TV systems, so the frame values may need adjusting to suit. Similarly, location and size parameters shown are with reference to Full HD, that's 1920 by 1080. Other formats will require these parameters modifying to suit. There's a lot to get through, so let's get started. You need 4 tracks for this one, plus the bottom track for your video. I'm going to start with the animated horizontal line. This is going to be yellow, so I'm going to select a yellow solid colour event and place it on track 4. Now I need this to be 7 seconds. I'll change that there. And pull that back to the loop point. I'll now move this centrally on the clip. That's about right. Now I need to resize this event, so I'm going to open up track motion. I'll put the cursor at the beginning of the event. With this one I have to make sure that lock aspect ratio isn't enabled. I will add a keyframe there. Now at this point, X will be minus 1920, Y is minus 400, the width stays at 1920 and the height is 6. I want the line to travel across the screen in 10 frames. So I need to move the cursor 10 frames. And add a keyframe. Now at this point, X will be 0. And the other parameters stay the same. I need to repeat that animation in reverse at the end of the event. So I'll go to the end of the event, come back 1 frame and add a keyframe. Now at that point, the parameters need to be the same as the parameters at this point. I'll go to that one, copy, and paste. Again, I need to come back 10 frames. Add a keyframe. And that keyframe needs to be the same as this one. So we can just check that. Okay. That's the line completed. I'll now go for the lower third text. So I will open up title and text, and pull the default preset down onto track 2. Bring that back. And match event length. For the font, I'm going to choose Times New Roman. And the size will be 14. The anchor point needs to remain at center. I'm going to change the color to yellow. And give it a black outline. And the black outline will be width 5. I'll change the text string now to Sycamore Gap, Adrian's Wall. And finally the location, the Y location will be 0.2. Now to make the text stand out against the video background, I need a thin coloured strip. I'm going to use a gradient event for this. So I'll go to the colour gradient options and select this preset. Now I need to do some tweaking with this one. So the first thing I do is to grab the control point number 1 and bring it up and pull the control point 2 back. Grab the crosshair and bring it down. Now I need to change the colour of 2 transparent. And the colour of one to black, but I need the opacity to be 100. That will allow the background clip to just show through a little bit. As you can see, it's quite difficult to see that where that is. So what I'm going to do just temporarily is to mute that and pull a white clip down below it. Open that up again and just tweak this a little bit. Well, that looks good. So I'm going to leave it there. So now I can delete that and unmute that. Just delete that track. Oh, one thing I forgot. Just to make sure that it's in the middle. Yes, X is 0.5, that's in the middle, so that's fine. Now the lens flare. I've obtained this ping, and I will leave details in the description where this can be obtained from. This image needs to go on track 1. Now the idea of this flare is to traverse the display from left to right after the horizontal line has completed its animation. This then revealing the text and its background as it moves. After a predetermined time, it will then travel right to left, hiding the text and its background in doing so. So I need to open track motion. Start with the cursor at the beginning of the event. And the coordinates for this at this point should be x equals minus 1400, y equals minus 326, width equals 821.84, and height is 545.63. Now the flare can't start moving until after the horizontal line has completed its animation. That's 10 frames in. Now I want to allow another 15 frames, then the flare can start moving. So from the first keyframe, I need to move the cursor 25 frames and add a keyframe. So 25 frames from there will be 1, 2, 3. Now the flare can start moving, so I've got to move the cursor a further 25 frames and add a keyframe. So that will be 02, 23. This is the end of the initial animation, so the X position coordinate should now be 1400. I now have to do that in reverse at the end. Now the flare must finish its movement off the display to the left before the horizontal line starts to move back. To this end, I need to move the cursor 25 frames back from the last keyframe and add a keyframe. So 25 frames back from that will be so that keyframe needs to be the same as that one. And now I have to move the cursor further 25 frames, which will be 0522. So at this point, that keyframe will be the same as that one. If I now check that animation, okay. Now I need to create some masks, one for the text background animation and one for the lower third text animation. We'll start with the text background animation. This animated mask will reveal the text background as the flare travels across the display. To do this, I'm going to apply a Bezier masking effect to the background strip. I'll first set the width at 1, so the mask is full screen width. I'll drop the height to about the right height and move it down. Make sure this is in the middle by changing that to 0.5. Now I need to enable location animation. click the Animate button. That opens the keyframe controller. At this position, the X coordinate has to be minus 0.5. Now the animated line takes 25 frames to complete its travel, so I want the mask to start moving a few frames after that. So I'll move the cursor 29 frames. And add a keyframe. I'll move a further 17 frames. And add a keyframe. Now at this point, the X coordinate will be 0.5. I'll now do that in reverse at the end. I need to come back 30 frames. And change the location position X coordinate to minus 0.5. Come back a further 17 frames. And the X coordinate there should be 0.5. Just close that down and check the animation. Okay, now for the lower third text animation. Because this animation is exactly the same as the background animation, all I'm going to do there is to copy that and paste the event attributes to the text event. And check the animation. And if we step through that, you can see what happened. The flare starts and seems to expose the text and the background. Now if you're a Vegas Pro user, to incorporate this as a nested timeline into your main project, you should now remove the video event, group all these events together and move them to the beginning of the timeline. Don't worry about the keyframes, they will move with the events. What you need to do then is to save the project with a meaningful name, for instance lower third 01, and then after you've saved it, you can copy and paste that project as many times as you need, each with a different name. The projects can then be imported one at a time onto the timeline of your main project as nested timelines, The text can then be changed on each of them to suit the scene you're describing. If you're not familiar with nested timelines, refer to Tutorial 27 Part 1. This tutorial describes the method in detail. If you're a Movie Studio Platinum user, you can't use nested timelines, so the method of use is different. If you watch Tutorials 27 Part 2, I describe this method in detail. Well, that's the end of another long one, but I hope you think it was worth it. I personally think it's one of the best lower thirds I've designed. Join me for the next tutorial in this series. This will be another elegant main title, and will conclude the series. Until then, bye for now.